A 65-year-old woman is tased by a police officer for refusing to sign a traffic citation. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joe Pometto Law Show. Today, we are going to take a look at a video that has already gone national, and you may have already seen it, in which a 65-year-old woman in Oklahoma is tased by the police for refusing to sign a citation. Her name is Deborah. We're going to call her Oklahoma Deb. In this video, the officer pulls her over, tries to give her a citation. She refuses to sign it, and then she drives away. A chase ensues. She pulls over. The officer drags her out of the car and ends up tasing her. We're going to do a legal analysis of this video. Was it legal for Oklahoma Deb to refuse to sign the citation? Was it legal for the officer to take the actions that he did? And what is the legal consequences of actually signing the citation? What does that mean? Is it a contract? Is it an admission of guilt? So we're going to watch that video and analyze it from a legal perspective. Now, before we begin, please have a sip of your favorite beverage with me. I got Diet Pepsi today. I have ice cubes in it like the Americans. Also, check out my description below. I got a Patreon set up. You can make a donation via PayPal. If you make some donations, this will help me dedicate more time to making the videos. No pressure to donate. You can also support the show by subscribing, liking, and sharing. Now let's watch this video.
$80. You have till September 16th to take care of this. Get you to sign there where the X is.
So you don't even give a warning for this?
You've been driving around for 6 months like that.
I'm truthful.
Well, I'm not going to give you a warning for something you've been driving for 6 months.
But I don't want to sign it because I don't want to do $80.
You don't want to sign it?
No, because I don't think that I deserve to pay $80 for something that is fixable and I can fix it.
All right.
That's all you want
Go ahead,
to do.
step out of the car.
Why?
Because you're under arrest. Step out. Step out of the vehicle.
No, I'm not.
Step out.
No.
Step out. I'm giving you a lawful order to step out.
You be fair with me and I'll be fair with you.
Step out.
No.
You're under arrest.
No, I'm not.
I'm placing you under arrest. Step
you
out.
You are full of because you're not placing me under no arrest.
Do not take off.
Shut up and give me that and I'll sign it.
Step out.
No.
We're beyond that.
Do you want me
Step out. Get out of the car. 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 Get out of the car.
You better leave me.
Put your hands behind your
Leave
back.
me alone.
Put your hands behind your back.
No.
Now.
Leave me alone. I mean it. Leave me alone.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Lay down and put your hands behind your back. Now. No, you will not. You're going to get it again. Do you realize you just got yourself in a whole lot more trouble?
What?
For running?
Oh, I didn't run. I told you you weren't going to arrest me. I pulled him here thinking that you would have.
Hurt?
Yeah, I'm hurt.
What hurts?
Everything.
Alright, I got EMS on the way. Just hang tight.
You got a what on the way?
I got an ambulance on the way to check you out.
Ambulance? I don't need an ambulance.
Well, you got tased, so they got to check you out.
You did not have to taser me.
You wouldn't comply. You wouldn't get out. And then you tried to kick me. So,
Why?
yes, I did.
And that, my friends, is the story of Oklahoma Deb. Let's run through the whole interaction. There's some points that I want to highlight about what Deb was saying and what the officer was saying. And then afterwards, we'll get into the legal analysis. So we watched as the officer already had Oklahoma Deb pulled over, her windows rolled down, and he's asking her to sign the citation. Now, she asks if she can get a warning because she was truthful. She was truthful, and I believe this was a tail light ticket. She was truthful in that her tail light was out. She was also truthful in telling the officer that the tail light was out for 6 months. So when she asked for the warning, the officer said, "No, I'm not going to give you a warning. This has been going on for 6 months." That's his prerogative. Could the guy just have given her a warning? Of course he could have. So he's insisting on this citation being signed, and Oklahoma Deb is not having any of it. He asks her why she won't sign. She says, I don't deserve to pay $80 for this. We'll get into this more in a minute or so, but Oklahoma Deb just signing the citation is not an admission of guilt. Okay? He keeps asking her to sign. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. She keeps on resisting any attempts for the officer to sign. So then it seems like there's a little bit of pause. The window goes up, the window goes down, and then the officer starts to command her out of the car, telling her she's under arrest. Well, Oklahoma Deb has a change of mind. Give it to me. Now I'll sign. The officer says, too late, Deb. So, at this point, she makes a very bad decision. She speeds off, and the officer gets in the car and follows her along and pulls her over at a certain point in time, and then you'll see him pull her out of the car. Now, at the end of the video, the officer says that she attempted to kick him. I did not see that in the video. It's possible that when he's dragging her out of the truck that her leg hit him. It really seems like a stretch here for the officer to claim that she tried to kick him, unless I'm not seeing something. I may not be seeing something there. He gets her on the ground. She continues to resist, and that's when he hits her with the taser. 65 years old. Tasers are dangerous. Tasers are dangerous. They are sometimes deadly if a person has heart condition, etc. It's a pretty high escalation of force for an officer to go ahead and use a taser. So I'm going to give you my opinion on the whole thing. To be honest with you, I think both parties were wrong here. And look, I watch these videos. I'm a person. I'm pretty sarcastic, and I do have a dark sense of humor. All right, this is a very serious situation, and I hope that Deb is okay and that the officer is okay. And I wish that this thing could have been handled differently. But I'm gonna laugh at it a little bit as well. I know that everybody's okay in this from what I read in the news reports. So I think that gives me a little bit of room to laugh at this whole situation. It was kind of funny. So you guys, you can laugh at it too. So Oklahoma Deb refuses to sign. All right. Why is she refusing to sign? Number one, people often believe that signing is an admission of guilt. It's not. It's just an acceptance of the citation. You're accepting the document. You are saying that you will appear at a court hearing, but you are not admitting your guilt. So if that's your reason for not signing, That's not a good reason to sign. Seems like Oklahoma Deb thought that's what was going on here because she said, well, I'm not going to pay $85 for this. Deb, signing the citation doesn't hold you to the $85. Watch some of my prior videos. You can go ahead and schedule a hearing, and the judge may let you off completely. In fact, that's what they do 90 to 95% of the time once you fix the problem. Oklahoma Deb should have signed the citation, scheduled a hearing, rolled up to the hearing with her taillight fixed. Take the office, say, officer, I fixed this. I'm sorry. I know it was broken for 6 months. That judge would have tossed that in an instant. You didn't have to, by signing that, you don't automatically pay the $85, Deb. So, well, I'm going to mix up the order here. Some people, again, and that gets to that. So the signature is not an admission of guilt. It's also not a contract. Again, by signing it, you're not saying that I promise to pay the $85. Now, it is actually a contract in a way, because it's my understanding you sign those, you're saying that you will respond to that document or show up to a court date on a certain date and time. However, that officer, let's say the scenario played out a little bit differently. Let's say she didn't sign the citation, okay? The officer could theoretically issue a warrant, okay? Could still schedule a court date for you, have it delivered by mail, and then if you didn't go, issue a warrant. You got to show up for the court date or respond to the citation no matter what, whether you sign it or not. So if you sign it and say that you're going, it's no different from getting a citation in the mail, which is going to tell you to show up for that court date. So signing it as a contract or a promise to say that you're going is no different from not signing it, because you're going to get a summons to show up anyway. And if you don't show up, even if they give you the summons, you're still going to get a warrant. You could be found guilty in absentia. There's a bunch of things that could happen. The only way that works out for you is if they're unable to serve you. But even then, they'll probably issue a warrant, even if they have the incorrect address. So to avoid a statement of guilt or a contract is not a good reason to sign the document. You just sign it and you deal with it later. If you don't want to show up, don't show up. That'd be just like not showing up after if you didn't sign it. So there's really no good reason to not sign a citation. So was the officer within, number 3, was the officer within his rights to arrest Deb for not signing the citation? Well, this is a multi-level analysis. Let's start by stating that certain states have laws that criminalize the refusal to sign the citation. This is very common in the criminal law. You feel like, oh, how can they do that? That's so unjust. It's an invasion of my rights, my privacy, my liberty. Well, you got to remember, especially when it comes to traffic stops, that driving is a privilege, not a right. All you free travelers out there, it's fun to make this argument, okay? But driving is a privilege, not a right. Driving is something that you get a license for. You're granted the right to drive by the state, the government, okay? So by you driving, you are implicitly agreeing to certain things. One of those things is likely in these states that have these laws, you're agreeing to sign a citation if they give it to you. When you don't, they can prosecute you criminally, no problem at all. That's going to be constitutional. So Oklahoma may or may not have this law. I imagine that they do, considering the actions this officer took. I imagine in Oklahoma, you have to sign the citation. If you don't, failure to sign is a criminal act in and of itself. So now, Deb, you got a driving violation and you got a failure to sign. 2 criminal acts, and he wants to place you under arrest, fine. Could an officer place you under arrest just for the traffic citation? Yes, they could. It's sketchy whether traffic is criminal or civil. They're not always treated that way, but it's. I believe when push comes to shove, and I'd have to research this a little bit. It is criminal. I mean, an officer on a speeding ticket, they could take you back to the station. Okay, they could put you under arrest for that. It's a pretty low standard. Any crime allows an officer to place an individual under arrest. So he could probably have arrested her just on the traffic violation. Now, that's not going to be the policy of the vast majority of police departments. Okay, because that would just create a tremendous amount of work, but and would not be popular in society. If you have a beverage, take a drink with me. Um, But for that failure to sign the citation, absolutely illegal. Now you're likely charged with a misdemeanor or a summary. It's a more serious crime. So when he decided to place her under arrest, he was within his lawful rights. Then Deb drives off. Okay, now she's fleeing and eluding arrest. At that point in time, any actions that the officer is going to take to pull her over or get her out of the vehicle are likely going to be justified. This ends up in her being pulled out of the vehicle and being tased. So what I read was that they charged her with resisting arrest and with assault on an officer. I think those are a little extreme. She probably won't end up being convicted of those. The resisting arrest is likely viable considering all the struggle she gave when he went to execute the arrest and her driving away. The assault, I don't know how that law is written. I don't believe that the facts here would support that unless there's more evidence to show that she kicked him. He might say that he kicked her. Again, I didn't see it. So the resisting arrest sounds appropriate. The aggravated assault or the assault on an officer does not sound appropriate. They probably could have charged her with like fleeing and eluding. That would have been appropriate. Failure to sign the citation and also the traffic citation itself. So, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this. Deb had no good reason not to sign. She should have signed. It's not an admission of guilt. It is not a contract. At the same time, this officer went too far. He could have issued a summons against her. He could have just given her the citation, say you don't have to sign, and then issued a citation for her, set up a court date. If she didn't go, then you issue a warrant, and then she goes and she gets arrested. I mean that this escalated this far. I'm of the opinion the officer could have acted with much more tact here in order to diffuse this situation that frankly got out of hand over a broken taillight. So they were both wrong. I think they were both wrong. Deb should have just signed, and the officer could have issued the ticket. I mean, in Pennsylvania, we don't have that law where it's my understanding that we don't have that law, the failure to sign, okay? The office you'll just get a citation. They'll issue it by mail, etc., etc. To effectuate an arrest here just seems a little bit extreme. But I have to say, the police officers here and police departments in general, they may be trying to send a message. They want people to cooperate. So as far as putting a deterrent message out there that, hey, you don't cooperate, you can be arrested, this will happen. Maybe they wanted to set an example of Deb, Oklahoma Deb. So I hope she's okay. Again, I mean, it's okay to laugh at this a little bit. I hope everybody learned something in this video. If you enjoyed my content, you're a first-time viewer, please subscribe, like, and share. Go to the subscription below. I have a Patreon set up. If I start to get donations and I make a little bit of money off this, I can dedicate more time, make more videos. I want to do a series on the Constitution. I want to get more in depth on the criminal laws, and I just want to do more videos in general. That will help me, but no pressure to do that. This content will always remain free. You can also subscribe, like, and share to support my show. Thanks for watching.